Alright guys, such comic again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, some big words coming out of Shotzzy last night, reminiscent of what happened right at the start of this calendar year when Shotzzy was all the rage, talking about how every other team was terrible in January. Then the next few months, well, we remember what happened before Mercules arrived on the scene. Shotzzy is now back at it again, saying that the majority of teams have no idea what they're doing, and especially he thinks FaZe are pretty terrible right now based on the scrims that they have played against them over the last few days. He says Toronto are okay, Gentlemen, of course, he still has a fair bit of respect for, but there are some teams that Shotzzy is convinced have no idea what they are doing on the map, and some big names at that. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Will it come back to bite him again, or are OpTic with Mercules simply too good this season? We'll get back to that in a second. Just quickly, CoD 2027. So, look, maybe who even cares at this point? We're talking about Black Ops 7. But just to quickly keep it in mind, so CoD 2026 is going to be Modern Warfare 4. We think it's not yet confirmed, but that's Infinity Ward's game. Then after that, it's going to be a Sledgehammer game. They're never going to do Modern Warfare 4, Modern Warfare 5 back-to-back. They're not going to do any back-to-back Black Ops games again. They've now made that official, actually. They did a press release the other day. But Sledgehammer Games are making CoD 2027. Is it going to be Advanced Warfare 2? Well, apparently not. It's going to be a completely new sub-franchise, so we're not doing Vanguard 2, which I think is an excellent decision, but yeah, completely new characters, late 90s, early 2000s, Omni movement with no tac sprint is currently planned, which sounds like a good idea for me. Pick 10 returning, zombies not planned, and some other stuff as well. So anyway, early days, but wanted to keep you guys in the loop of some rumors about that. But let's talk about scrims, because been great to see other teams also turn on the streams for the practice. OpTic was streaming a couple of their scrim sets last night as well. Shotzzy had the stream on Mercules. Obviously, JP Krez as well from the Codcast review, which I tend to watch. But yeah, hopefully they keep streaming until Major 1. Probably a couple of weeks before Major 1, they'll turn off the streams. That's usually how it goes. Just hoping that they come on again after that, right? But it's cool to see the other teams are getting involved as well. Everyone knows that you can make a bit of money on Twitch streaming this practice. Miami turned the practice on last night as well. Rencor was streaming it, and this was their result against Surge. So, of course, Surge were playing with Lqgend. It's pretty funny, right? So Lqgend was playing with Stallions in their scrims. Of course, he's gone down to that roster, but his account, his CDL account, was clearly been logged into by somebody else who was playing with the Surge. Now, rumor was it could be TJ Halley. Definitely wasn't a Luca. So, yeah, it looks like Surge might be going that route, but they play Miami and have a pretty decent result. They play the 5 hard points because Blackheart is now back in the game. Pretty competitive affair. I mean, look at all those 5 maps. None of them were to 100 or any sort of points. It was 250, 203 was the most dominant victory that any team had. It's a very close fought affair. The overload was a 7-0 on the den to Surge, and the exposure was competitive, but it was back the other way. So pretty interesting, because Miami have looked solid over the last few days. Surge obviously were terrible, but yeah, maybe getting rid of Lqgend is going to pay dividends for those guys. At least bringing in some sort of experience surely would be a good idea. We also saw the Huntsman play the Stallions. Of course, well, as I say, it was the same time, and we had Lqgend playing in this one as well. But they were playing Raspy, Neum, Kips, and Renegade. Of course, the Stallions roster. Couple of screenshots I'll just quickly go through here. But this is a pretty competitive series. Huntsman get the victory in the end. It was 6-2. Obviously, it is first day for that new Stallions roster, so you would expect it to be a victory for the Huntsman. But you know, still 6-2. Again, the maps here reasonably competitive. All of the overloads were pretty good going as well. So yeah, excited for both parties on that one. But plenty of clips here to share when it comes to OpTic Texas. There is this one I'll also point out, which is so remarkable. That we saw this a couple of times, like Scraps, if you guys remember. So not Scrap, but Scraps, the UK player from Manchester, who was Scraps and Waskin. They were twin brothers, if you guys remember. I mean, I'm sure if you guys were watching, you'll remember Scraps very well. But obviously, he's not been around a few years, so many of you guys might not be so familiar with him. Played for teams like FaZe and Red Reserve from back in the day. But I think he played like default. So people used to always play tactical, or they'd play with bumpers on the back of the controller. But I don't think Scraps did. And there have been some other players over the last few years that have been talked about in this ilk. And to be fair, nowadays, you can remap your whole controller to however you like. So You don't really need the paddles. If you like remap all of the buttons to certain things, you can probably get away with it anyway. But, you know, back in the day, people would use all this type of stuff. You need a very expensive controller with the paddles on it to compete at a top level. But Mercules just don't care about that. Like, he just has a standard controller, no claw, which is where you use your second finger or your index finger on the right-hand side to press the jump button, all that stuff. But maybe that's not very good for your hands in the long term. There's been a lot of talk about that, of course, as we know. And Dashy says that when his controller was having an issue, he just ordered a new one from Lqgend to just pick the thing straight up. So that was a great story. But obviously, OpTic, they were putting the practice in last night. They played FaZe. They lost the Den. To be fair, they usually win the Den, but they lost it 250-196. But that was the only map that they lost. It was, you know, the overloads are pretty competitive, 6-4, 6-2, 6-5. The Scar, 131. The Exposure to 120. And all the other maps, they also won to less than 200 points. So, yeah, these are some of the post-game scoreboards. Dashy had 40 on that one. This was the Exposure that they won pretty comfortably. And they didn't massively outslay here, really, to win by 250-120. Kind of interesting to see. I mean, we can only see like Drazah's numbers here on the scoreboard, but, you know, just given the talk earlier today about whether there could be some Luka mania going on in that FaZe camp right now. But yeah, this is pretty funny. They also went on to play Boston later on. This is the thing. Shotzzy talks a lot of trash, and he has been talking some trash. He comes and lays down at the corner here. He's like, oh, I've got 2 kills. And, well, that doesn't exactly go especially well. So Shotzzy has, look, we do see a lot of Shotzzy's POV because he streams all the time. But, yeah, he has been getting smoked a few times this year. And against Boston, it was a very similar result to against FaZe. The Den, they were winning in dominant fashion. Nasty's game then crashed. So, you know, you can either count that or not. They were probably going to win it, let's be honest. But it ended when it was 186-62. The Scar was 250-164. They lost the Colossus. They won the Exposure, won the Black Cart. And then again, the Overload's very competitive. And I think Overload right now is just such a great mode, to be honest, right? I think there was some concern that it would be too difficult to score when they made it so it was a pistol that was mandated for the player that has the device, but I actually think that's been a fantastic change. So I'm glad that Treyarch pushed that through despite some feedback in the negative direction. And to be fair, in scrims, you may get games that are a little bit less cagey than you'd get in a real life situation. Like, imagine it's, you know, COD Champs Grand Finals, you'll go into a game, I don't know, 7 overloads. It's probably going to be a little cagey, right? Like, teams are going to be playing a little bit more defensive than you might do in, certainly in 8, and definitely in scrims, I would argue, to a certain degree as well. So you tend to see some higher scores here maybe than you would in an actual CDL game. But I think teams also realizing that, you know, attack is the best form of defense because there's only one device. So you might as well try and run it up. Whereas back in the day with Uplink, you know, people would actually take the ball and run away with it, right? Like evac, it was a common strategy to get the ball, run backwards, run all the way around the map to the wall run side, and you'd waste like 40 seconds of game time. Maybe you could go for a 1, but if you don't, you've wasted probably a whole minute. And that was part of the strategy. Not so much of a strategy here in Overload so far. We'll see if that changes over time as teams continue to figure out how to actually play the game. And Shotzzy reckons nobody has any idea what they are doing. So here we go again. We saw it happen back in January, and Shotzzy was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But like, no, I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to, you know, live my truth, as it were. And Shotzzy is convinced, watching and playing against these other teams, they don't really know what they're doing. And he reckons that pretty much all the teams are terrible. He actually mentioned specifically a couple of teams, like they were playing FaZe in a scrim. I think it was Drazah who made this interesting decision. They're playing a little overload here on the Scar. And, yeah, so Drazah kills him, and then he runs this way, which very much surprises Shotzzy given the state of affairs on the map. And Shotzi's like, wow, these guys are actually terrible. What is this guy doing? So he says LA Thieves are pretty inconsistent. Paris are one of the few teams that actually do know what they are doing. Toronto's pretty good, but he thinks FaZe are terrible.
Dude, I'm about to wait on your heart this motherfucker, Merc, bro. I'm gonna take a crowbar, hit his thumbs.
But wait, Matt, so was that. No one's saying anything about that. They're just like,
no way this guy's playing without a paddle and he doesn't play claw and he's dropping a 1.8 in 2025 like
that is pretty nuts. Guys, you know what's crazy? Dude, his controller was before that series, right? He was like, yo, shoot with my shit, like the bumper for his pistol, and it was like jammed in so he couldn't like spam his trigger finger. And then he was like, I'm gonna just order that shit. I'm like, order it. And he's like, but DoorDash it. And I was like, oh, it kicked in. Like, dude, this guy's
he could buy just like a default controller.
And then literally, yo, after the series ends, there's a fucking, it looks like a Walgreens fucking bag. It just comes in and there's a fucking PS5 in there. And I'm like, what is crazy?
Do you believe Ant on 6 teams making changes? 6 teams? I don't know. I mean,
bro, everyone's terrible. Everyone's
Carolina
terrible.
might.
Everyone, trust me, dude. They got him. Unless like, I mean, we might just be insane. I don't know. We could just be insane. I see. That's the thing.
That's the issue with the 12-team league. Because I think there should
Here
be
we
like 16 teams. Like, I think there should be.
Yeah, let me chill. I think it's shitting recently. Nah, everyone's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. 6 teams, like. I'm drilling.
I mean,
I'm just saying how it is, bro. Everyone, bro. They're just like.
I think G2 is better than I thought.
I'm just saying how it is, bro. I'm gonna be honest.
I think Boston's solid. I think Miami is good. The only teams who I think are like.
We know we left. Shop, going to our shop. I'm gonna cut it off left. Left weak, fuck me, dude. He went for blue to right. He's going right. These guys are fucking terrible. Where's this guy going? Top blue. Nice, come right.
I mean, they just know what they're doing on the map. To be honest. They're one of the few teams that know what they're doing. I feel like Thieves is pretty inconsistent at it. FaZe, I think they're just shit right now. Yeah. I think Toronto's a good team.
Do that.
I mean, Shotzzy literally said these guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. So, and he was talking about Drazah.
That's actually comedy because Ant doesn't know what the fuck he's doing either.
Oh my! I agree with you. I agree with you. The fuck guy's got Merc. Like Jesus.
Oh my god.
By the numbers, FaZe haven't looked awful in terms of the CDL standing so far, but Shotzzy thinks, having played them, that they're just not all that. To be fair to Shotzzy, most of FaZe's success this year has come from search and destroy. Their respawn has not been especially good, but they've won most of their searches and got over the line that way. Whereas if their search wasn't as good, then all of a sudden FaZe's record this year would not be looking pretty at all. And when OpTic play them in scrims, it's respawns, right? You'd imagine that they're playing most of the time. That's certainly what at least we see getting streamed on a regular basis. But yeah, like as we know, Shotzzy, this is a tweet from January the 11th last year when Shotzzy was giving all the rage towards all the players, put the fries in the bag in a couple of years and all this, you guys don't do anything but collect a check. Now, famously, Shotzzy tweeted all this out, and then things went relatively swiftly downhill for OpTic. But it all worked out at the end because Mercules came in, saved the team. They won champs in the World Cup as well, back to back. But Shotzzy's at it again. And look, fair play. He's going to speak his mind. He's going to say what he thinks. And other teams are going to have to listen to Shotzzy. Look, Aches did the same thing back in the day, right? Like, Aches put together a 20-point list of how to beat his team complexity and like how to play CoD the right way. Because he was literally looking at these lads like, you are not competitive at all. I'm going to try and help you. I just found it up real quick if you guys haven't seen this before. Aches put this out back in the Ghost days and said, I don't learn anything from watching other players, often what I do wrong. And pretty much what he said is, these other teams have no idea how to play the game. This is what you've got to do. Stop playing for seconds. And, so there are even the playing field, but no one's going to listen to this anyway. So, that's how it used to be. And again, even as Shotzzy says, yeah, you can watch my POV, you can watch us play the game. You still can't do what we do on the map. So, look, OpTic are the best team right now. They are the team to beat. Will that stay the same way? Time will only tell. But very much into your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.